Hey, in this video, I'm going to talk about how to find the market cap, the shares outstanding, and the float. And then also, I can show you how to calculate float rotation and cap rotation. In my previous YouTube video, I explained what these concepts are, and now I'm going to show you how to find this data on stocks. So the apps that I use on my phone to look at market cap are thinkorswim and Yahoo Finance. So with thinkorswim, it's by TD Ameritrade. If you open up a brokerage account with them, they are US based. And I don't think you need to fund any money. You can open up an account and then you can download the app and sign into your account and then use the app. So first I'm gonna use thinkorswim. So if we go to thinkorswim, I'll go up here and I'll put in a ticker. Today tops was running TOPS. And so you can see sometimes it'll just show the price like this, but if you push the arrow next to the price, you can see the market cap. And the market cap, it's showing that it's 10.7, and then as the stock moves in price, if it goes up, the market cap will increase, and if the price goes down, the market cap will decrease. So right now the market is about to close. We can see what price tops will close at. It went down after it was up almost 100%. Okay, so if you recall in the last video that the market cap equals the shares outstanding times the current price. Okay, so right now it looks like the closing price is 302. So if we know the market cap, which is 10.71 million right now, and then if we take the current price, which is the closing price right now, so now when it's after hours, after the market closes, the market cap, it'll only be based off the close of the price, which is 302. So even though right now it's after hours, you can see the bid and the ask are 303 and 305, right? The market cap isn't moving anymore because the market closed. Okay, so if we know the market cap and the current price, we can calculate the shares outstanding. Because remember, the market cap equals current price times shares outstanding. So here we can divide the market cap by the current price. So the market cap is, we said 10.7, and then divided by 3.02 equals 3, I'll say 3.5 approximately. So then what this means is that the shares outstanding are 3.5 million. And then if you take 3.5 million, or this number times 3, the current price, O2, that will equal 10.7, the market cap. So we know that the shares outstanding is 3.5. And then if you recall that shares outstanding equals the insider shares plus the float. So now if we want to find the float of the stock, we know that the float is at least is no greater than 3.5 million. So sometimes the float can equal the shares outstanding if there are no insider shares. But if we want a rough estimate of the float, we can say that by figuring out what the shares outstanding is based off the current price and the market cap, we know that the float is 3.5 million or less. But what we do know for sure, if you recall, that a low float stock is a float under 10 million. So just based off the market cap and the price, we can figure out the shares outstanding, and we know that this stock, Tops, is a low float stock. And so we can also go on Yahoo Finance, and then I can search up here for a ticker. So I'll just search for Tops, and I'll just go ahead and add this to my watch list. Okay, so on Yahoo Finance, if you scroll down, you could see under key statistics, the market cap, it's the same value as it was on thinkorswim, and it's showing the closing price is 302. So if you want a more accurate float, we can go under here where it says show all key statistics, and if you tap that and you scroll down, you can go to share statistics, and then according to Yahoo Finance, the float is 2.36 million. So in this case, the float is a little less than the shares outstanding. And then see here, it also shows the shares outstanding, which is 3.5 approximately. And we got that value also from dividing the current price by the market cap by the current price. So this is how you can also see shares outstanding and the float. But sometimes the float will not be always up to date. And so if you want the most accurate float, what I do is I'll look at the most recent 10Q file or 10K in the SEC filings. So I don't have an app for that. What I'll do here is I go on the internet, and normally I use otcmarkets.com to look at a stock's SEC filings, but you can also use other sites like nasdaq.com, and then you'll search and type in the ticker, or you can go straight to sec.gov and type the ticker, and then search the SEC filings. So here I'll just go back to OTC markets, and then I'll look at tops. And so after I search for tops here on this website, I have to scroll here to disclosure. And now with this stock, so first let me show you, because it's a little different, the 10Q file is not called the 10Q file if it's a foreign company. And so Tops is a foreign company, and how you could know if it's a US based or foreign company, you can go on Yahoo Finance, and if we go back here, we see that if we scroll down here to company profile and then show, but if you see here on the bottom, it says that the company, the last sentence, was incorporated in 2000 and is based in Greece. So that's a foreign company. And then here, if you scroll down, this is basically the same thing. Yeah, and then here it shows you here too that it's based in Greece. Okay, so first I'm just going to look at the flow of a US stock to show you the 10Q and the 10K file. So let me see if this stock, ONCS, is a US stock. Okay, so yeah, it says in the last sentence it's headquartered in New Jersey, so this should be US stock. So if we go here to, so now let me do the, I'll go here to show all key statistics. And then if we scroll down, we can see in this case, the shares outstanding is 1.79. And then the float, it's showing that the float here is under 1 million. So if the float is under 2 million, I say it is a micro float stock. And so in this case, it's showing 745K. So the K stands for 1,000. And so here we can see the market cap is very low too. Only 5 million. Okay, so let me look for this stock, ONCS. And then I'll go to disclosure. And now if we scroll down, we can see the one that comes up first is 10K. So if we click on the 10K, which is the annual report, we can see usually under here, above the table of contents will be the shares outstanding. And so if you see here, it says as of October 31, 2022, there were 39 million shares outstanding. So now, sometimes what you have to look out for is if the stock has a reverse split, and a reverse split means usually a penny stock will do a reverse split if the stock is under $1 and it's a listed stock trading on the NASDAQ or another stock exchange like the New York Stock Exchange, they'll be required to keep their stock above $1. And so sometimes they'll do a reverse split. And so if the stock does a reverse split after the most recent 10K or 10Q, this float won't be accurate. And one of the easiest ways to tell if this float here is accurate or not is to multiply the float times the current price, and if it is bigger than the market cap, we know obviously that this float is not accurate and they most likely did a reverse split. Because let's say if the stock does a 1 to 10 reverse split and the stock is $1, then that means the stock will increase, the stock price will increase by times 10, or it'll become $10, but it'll also mean the current float will be divided by 10. So let's just say that if the float was 40 million and then they did a 1 to 10 reverse split and the current price was $1, after the reverse split the price will be $10 and the float will shrink from 40 million to 4 million. So obviously, I'll just go here. So as you can see, sometimes it can be a little tricky to get the accurate float. So if we go to ONCS, and we see here it shows the market cap is only 5 million, so obviously we can know that if we do 39 times the closing price, which was 2.83, based off that float, if that float also equaled the shares outstanding, the market cap should be at least 110 million, but it's obviously less. So then that means there must have been a reverse split. And it was probably like more than a 1 to 10 reverse split. So here in the SEC filings, sometimes or actually it's easier to see if when did they do the reverse split. Normally they'll mention it on Yahoo Finance. And so anyway, so here, if we look at the 10Q was issued on 10/31/20 of this year, 2022. So then I'm looking after, on the start of November, there should be some mention of a reverse split. So here I'm looking now, scrolling here on the news of this stock on Yahoo Finance to see the reverse split. So here they announced the reverse split on November 8th. So if we go on November 8th, it should be, yeah, so in this case it was a 1 for 22 reverse split. So remember, if you recall, the current shares out, or the current float was 39 million on at the end of October. And so if the float was 39 million, if we divide it by 22, that should equal what the current float is now. So 39 divided by 22. So now the float is under 2 million. It's approximately 1.8 million. And so here sometimes they'll say the new float. If we scroll down, but in this case, I didn't see the float, but that's now, in this case, this is how I would know what the float is. And then we said the float shouldn't be more than the shares outstanding. And so if this is also the shares outstanding and then we times it by the current price, we shouldn't get now more than like 5 million market cap. So 2.83 times the float equals. So yeah, so in this case, if I were to guess or to approximate what the float is, I'll say now I know the pretty accurate float. And so maybe why the market cap is a little higher is because the shares outstanding, they must have some more insider shares that makes the shares outstanding more than the float. But in this case, I'll feel safe now to say that the float in this case is 1.7 or 1.8 million. And so in this case, maybe Yahoo, I think it did give the accurate float, but sometimes it's not always accurate. So if I go back here, I see in share statistics, it should be showing, we'll see in this case, it's showing that the float is 700 and it's showing it's under a million. So for me, I'll say the more accurate float, assuming that they did the 1 to 22 reverse split, and then once we looked at that previous 10K file, we knew at the end of November the float was 39 million, and then we divided it by 22, and so I don't see how they're coming up with this number. So in this case, I would say the float is 1.7 million, not 745K. So this is an example where it's a little more tricky to find the float because they just did a reverse split. But this is why I don't always trust Yahoo Finance to come up with the float. So maybe I could show you a more, let's see if there's another example. Maybe this stock is a little easier unless they also did a reverse split. Okay, so this stock, it's CAL. It's the closing price is 50 cents, and then the market cap is 13.7. And then over here, if we go to the share statistics, over here, according to this, it's showing that the shares outstanding is 91 million, and then the float is 77 million. And so in this case, the float is not a low float stock. It's much greater than 70 or 10 million. So now I'll see if it's based. Okay, so this stock should be based in the US. It's in Orlando, Florida. So I should be able to scroll down to see their most recent 10Q and 10K, and it should give me the accurate float. So I'll type CAL, disclosure, and then we see the most recent one in this case is a 10Q, which is the quarterly financial statement on 5/16. So I'll go here, and then if we scroll here, it's showing so sometimes it gets a little tricky because here it's showing that there are, and so that there are Class A ordinary shares and then Class B ordinary shares. So when you're looking in the SEC filing, and if you can't quickly scroll and see where the float is, so if you notice too, they won't call it float. They might say common shares outstanding, or in this case, ordinary shares. So normally I'll look for, if you go, if since I'm on my iPhone, if you're on your computer, on a Microsoft computer, you can push Control F and then search for keywords. So since I'm on my iPhone, I can go up to the URL, and instead of typing a website, I can start to type in a word like shares. And then I normally start to type shares outstanding, or I'll put shares OU. Then here we get 13 matches. So I click that, and now we can see that it's showing the shares outstanding of the Class A ordinary shares. This would be also, the float is 14, and then Class B is 3.5. So sometimes I'm not sure if the float is based on the Class A ordinary shares or the Class B, but I'll usually just go with the Class A. And so here we're getting different numbers. So this isn't close to 77 million. So if the flow is suddenly increased a lot, I'm thinking maybe they did some kind of offering or something. But anyway, I would still go based off this float and not the 77 million. So I'll say maybe the float is around 14 million for this company. Okay, so now I could go back to tops to see the float. And so here the float is showing 2 million. So now when it's a foreign company, instead of looking for the most recent 10Q or 10K filing, I'll look for, and so sometimes it's a little annoying with foreign companies because the most recent, the 10Q file also equals the 6K file for a foreign company, and the 6K file is also equivalent to like a news or an 8K file. So anyway, this is kind of now confusing. I might have to explain more in another video, but here just to show you, if I wanted, so the 10K file also equals the 6K file, but the 10K file for a foreign company equals, I think it's 20F. But anyway, here I can just show you that if I wanted to see the most recent 10Q file, I would have to click on all these 6K files. And sometimes I'll have to go through a lot of junk. So normally I'll just scroll down, and if it's short like this and it doesn't show me the balance sheet, like the current assets and liabilities, I'll go okay, next. So this is 1011, so then I'll have to go to 10.6 and then scroll down here. Okay, this isn't a 10Q, a recorder, a financial statement. So here, the next 6K file, this isn't also the 10Q file. So then I'll scroll down here to 921. That isn't a 10Q file either. So then 9.7, I'll go on this 6K. This isn't a 10Q file. So this is why I don't like when it's a foreign company, when I'm trying to figure out the shares outstanding. But in this case, but here now I just want to show you, because this video is long. So if we go here to 6.3, I just want to show you how annoying it can be before you find okay, so in this case now, since I already looked at all these, oh, there's two more 6K files here. Okay, that isn't what I'm looking for, and this isn't the financial statement, but here the 20F file I know is equivalent to the 10Q, or the yearly financial statement. So here, these can belong, so just to verify, I can go up here and do a word search. I'll search for current. Oh, I didn't spell it right. Current. I can start to type in assets. So here we see this is equivalent or to the 10K file. So over here, if we scroll down, on here where it shows shareholder equity, under here it shows the shares outstanding as of December of 2020, but this is an old this is the shares outstanding obviously changed. They did a reverse split because remember, if we take, so this one, the shares outstanding, here it says, if you read it, it says shares, it says 39.8 million shares issued and outstanding at December 31, 2020 and 2021. Okay, so you can also go here and type in shares, OU. I begin to type in shares outstanding, and I'll usually scroll until I see. So here it's showing at the end of each year. We can see, so at the end of year 2019, the shares were under a million. At 2020, the shares were 23 million. And then at the end of 2021, the shares were 39 million. And so this is why sometimes it helps to do what I said earlier, where you can approximate the float by looking at the shares outstanding. Or if we see, okay, the market cap is 10 million, and then we divide it by the current price, or 302. We said that, so 10.7 divided by 3.02 equals 3.5. So I know that the float is 3.5 or lower, 3.5 million shares or lower. And so I'll know at least that it's for sure a low float stock now. And then if we wanted to see, there, I think now that's enough in this video. So you can see though how it can be tricky to get the shares, the accurate float, because after they do a reverse split. And then here I can just show you that they must have at some point did a reverse split here. Usually they'll mention it on Yahoo Finance. So I'll see all news. So here we can see the reverse split. And so I would do, a similar thing that, okay, if I know the previous float was like 40 million, whatever this reverse split is, okay, well here it says what the current float was, and now after the reverse split it says in this sentence, this will reduce the number of shares outstanding shares of the company's common stock, and so that's another word for float, the common stock, from approximately 56 million to 2.8 million. So here I just want to say then, so it looks like this was a 1 to 20 reverse split. Yeah, here, 1 to 20. Okay, so anyway, I showed you some examples how it can be difficult sometimes to get the accurate flow, and after they do a reverse split, you can't always just take the most recent 10Q number of the shares outstanding. You have to, if it was issued before the reverse split, you have to take in the new thing after the reverse split. Okay, and then sometimes I'll show you something now. This video is already like so long, but I'll show you with HKD. This was at okay, since it's already so long, I'll go ahead and show you. So at first, when it was an IPO, now I think they'll show you the float. Okay, well at first, so let's just say when it's an IPO stock and it just went into the market. So let me say HKD. So if it's an IPO stock, it can also be tricky to find the float. And let's say if we go back, this was a crazy stock that it went all the way from like 12 to over 2,500. But let's say like on this day, you wanted to know what the float of the stock was on 7/27 on 7/27/22. And so this would be considered an IPO stock because the first day it went into the market was on 7/15. And so when it's an IPO stock at first, sometimes it won't even show you the market cap. But in this case, it's showing you the market cap. So what you'll do then is you'll have to, and sometimes too, they won't have a quarterly report because their financial statement wouldn't have came out yet. So you'll have to go and look at the form that mentions their initial public offering form. So if I go on HKD, I'll go here and then so on here, at first we didn't, and this is also a foreign company, so remember now the 20F is equivalent to the 10K file, but if we wanted to know what the float was before that, on the 7, we said on 7/27, the only data we would be able to look at is here. And so the 424B4 form is the initial public offering form. And sometimes it's also equivalent to the F1 form, but in this case it looks like they list both. But either way, I'll look at the most recent, so this would be the most recent one. And then this talks about the initial public offering. You can see in the first sentence, this is the initial public offering. And so on this document, I'll search for shares outstanding. We got 9 matches. And so sometimes it can be a little tricky here because this is also one, it says that the float is the ordinary shares outstanding is 67, but it also lists the Class A ordinary shares and Class B ordinary shares. So the Class A is only one, is under 2 million shares outstanding. And so based on how the float on this day, if we, I can't zoom in closer, but you wouldn't see the, if we were looking at 727, we wouldn't see that it already went up to over 2,000. We would see that it went from like 12 to now it's at $80. And then if we see that, oh, it's only barely trading like 2 million volume, and then it's going up more than 100%. So in this case, I'll go more likely the float of the stock is the Class A ordinary shares, which is under 2 million and which is a micro float stock. Because if the float was like 60 some million, normally it's not going to go up way over 100% when it didn't rotate through the float. And so how you would look at it to see if the stock rotated through its float. So in this case, if we say it's a micro float stock, and as you can see, this is an extreme example. A stock normally does not do a big short squeeze like this. But shorting is like betting against the stock, and then oh, I messed up. Okay, the video might come out all weird because I switched the holding the phone to landscape. Okay, so if you take the day's volume and you divide it by the float, you'll say that's how many times the float rotated through its stock. So if we said the float is 1.9 million, and on 7/27, the volume is 1.3 million. You can see it at the bottom there. So this didn't quite rotate through its float, but this day it rotated through its float. And so if a microcap stock starts rotating through its float a lot, it can do a short squeeze or go up a lot. But normally it does not go up this much. This is what I will call a black swan event. Okay, so in another video I can talk more about how to calculate the float rotation and the cap rotation. So this is a long video, but now you should be able to understand how to find the accurate float. And so in this case, I think too, like the market cap was starting to show like it's over $1 billion, but sometimes, as you can see, that the float can be way less than the market cap. And so that's why you always want to find out what the float is. Because if I were to just say in this example, or I forgot what the market cap was, but the market cap at the time when it was around 70, I think it was like over 10 billion or even 20 billion. But anyway, if I go so that's why sometimes it's not enough to just, like how I did with tops, to approximate the flow. I looked at the shares outstanding. And so in this case here, let's just assume, okay, the market cap was 3 billion on that day. Or let's just say here the float stayed the same, it didn't increase or decrease. And so if you look at, if you take 3 billion, or here I'll make this equal 3 billion. And then I'll divide it by 18. And so in this case, I'll say the float is or the shares outstanding is 166 million. And so obviously the float was way less than that. So this means that the insiders own so much more shares. And so that's why, even though this one has, I'll say it's a mid cap because it's not a small cap stock like Tops, and then Tops, since it's under 20 million market cap, I'll even say it's a micro cap stock. But in this case, even though the market cap is showing that it's a mid cap stock, in this case, the float was still considered a micro cap float because it was under 2 million. So that's why it's important to always look at the float. And if you're a short seller or betting that the stock will go down, you want to make sure it's not a micro float stock, because the micro float stocks can squeeze short sellers. Okay, so that's the end of this long video. But hopefully that makes sense, and you should now know how to find the float of a stock.